All right, so the Cowboys won last night, and as I'm prone to do, I kind of watched the internet to see your reaction of it. And everybody's like negative, and Dak this, and Kellen Moore that, and I'm like, all right, sometimes get out of the emotion, just go to the box score. Dallas had fewer penalties as a road team. Dallas had far fewer turnovers. Dallas had 380 yards of offense, 6 yards of play, 150 yards rushing. What are you complaining about? When you get to December football, injuries, backups, fatigue, short week, they were missing like 5 coaches, 5 or 6 coaches and staff on the road against a great defense. Tough place to play against the Hall of Fame head coach. And they won by 10. Who cares what it looks like? Well, Colin, Dak, he's very inconsistent. Yeah, since day one. Well, I mean, Tony Pollard is better now than Zeke. I agree with that. And that's a bad thing. To have a great backup quarterback who's a running back that's a playmaker, that's a bad thing. Well, Kellen Moore's play calling, yeah, was a little inconsistent. Folks, 17 games. Play callers can't have bad weeks or bad halves. Are you a salesman? You ever had a bad presentation? I've had a bad segment. Does Kellen Moore have to be perfect for 17 weeks? Let's look at the facts. Dallas is 8-4. Dallas plays only one team with a winning record to finish the season. Dallas is going to win the division easily. Dallas is in first place. Dallas is getting healthier at key spots. That's all the good news. Dak's not a pretty thrower. Dak's never been a pretty thrower. It's why I had my reservations and still do, giving him $40 million. I think quarterbacks come in 2 camps. The big bag and the smaller bag. And I think Dak on most Sundays, because in the NFL on most Sundays, you're missing a wide receiver, you're missing a center, you're missing a running back. Dak, when everything's right, is a big bag quarterback. But it's mostly not, especially in December. And am I concerned that Dak, who's not an artistic thrower and never has been and never will be, does appear to at times really struggle without Amari Cooper? Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. And Amari Cooper's not right. He's out of COVID. He's not right. He looked winded early. Give him about 3 weeks. He'll be fine. The good news is they should be able to win these games against teams like Washington, Philly, and the Giants going forward. Yes, this is why I had my reservations with Dak. And I do not believe Dallas is a Super Bowl team. But they're going to win their division. They're in first place. They won by 10 on the road, missing staff, against a really good defense and a Hall of Fame coach. They got 4 turnovers, 4 picks. There's nothing to complain about. You ever notice this? How pretty September and early October football is? It's 74 degrees. And have you ever noticed it gets uglier in December? Backups, fatigue, short week. Guys are hurt. Now throw in COVID, which didn't exist until last year. So you're missing staff members. Last night, we predicted yesterday on this show, Dallas wins by 10. It was 27-17. I said 30-20. They'll win by 10. I came out of it thinking, yeah, it's a little choppy. Win by 10 on the road. Who cares? We get way too caught up on December football being attractive. It's not all the time. Dallas is not as good as the team that was 6-1 that I bought into. They're not nearly as bad as the team that got housed by Denver. They don't feel like a Super Bowl team to me, but they feel like a team that could upset one of the 7 or 8 teams potentially if things went right, as that team was knocked out and is a better team. Dallas can beat anybody in this league. They really can. I saw them play Tampa. I saw CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper make big plays. And Amari's going to be better in 3 weeks than he is today. But all this complaining, this is December football. It's what it looks like, especially in a short week on the road missing coaches. Yeah, was not pretty. Dak is rarely pretty. He's effective. He wins. The intangibles are great. He's not that pretty. That's not how he plays. So we are, let's be honest, cynical. They do studies every year on the media and how they're similar to you, the public, and how we are different. We drink more than you do. We go to church less than you do. We are more cynical than you are. The stuff that we deeply care about, you really don't. There are similarities, But there's a lot of differences, and I always try to think about that when I do a show. I do topics that are easy to understand. We can put our arms around. We can argue over. And I don't ever want to be like cynical guy, although I think it's in me because of my profession. So Brian Kelly's a great football coach, period. And he has a much greater chance to succeed at LSU, probably, than Marcus Freeman, who I think will do very well at Notre Dame. But he's never been a coach, and Notre Dame's a hard place to coach. And next year, their schedule, they open up at Ohio State. And Brian Kelly's got a better chance to succeed at LSU, arguably, than Marcus Freeman does at Notre Dame. My guess is they both succeed. But Brian Kelly, like all college football coaches, is a politician and a psychologist and a recruiter and a salesman and a mentor. And he's also a really good football coach. He's a good teacher. Last night, he had a cringe-worthy moment. It may have been a couple of days ago. So when he got the job at LSU, he was speaking to the basketball fans. And Brian's from the North. All his jobs have been Northern. But, you get around those Southerners, and you have a bourbon or two. And I've done this more than once in my life. And about 2 bourbons in, around a bunch of Southerners, you start saying y'all a little bit more. It's cringy. Here's the first thing. LSU fans don't care. College football means a lot in the South. I always laugh when I see a New Yorker or a Boston media person try to tell Southerners how to think about their sport. Oh, how adorable. You have no idea. It matters a lot to them. And Brian wanted to connect with them and make them feel important. As the term goes, the saying goes, it matters more here. Yes, it was cringeworthy, but college football coaches pander all the time. One of the great college football coaches of all time is Barry Switzer. I had him on my show years ago at the other place. He's a riot, by the way. He's laugh-out-loud funny, and he's brutally authentic and honest. He told me that one time he was recruiting a great player in Oklahoma, and he went into the alley next to the house and opened up the garbage can to see what beer, see if there were any clues on what the family consumed. There was a certain beer there. It was like Pearl or Lone Star. Then he closed it and went inside the house to seal the deal. And when they asked what kind of beer he liked, he said, I love that Pearl beer is my very favorite. It's the only thing I'll let the staff drink. He, of course, had never had one, but they signed the player. When Tiger Woods had an affair, some of you were moralists and were outraged. He's not the first golfer to do it, just the first you heard about that you loved. This happens every day in college football. Ma'am, that apple pie is the best I've ever had. And then you ask yourself to go to the bathroom and throw up. I've had coaches tell me they play the game. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but you want to make people feel important. The mom, the dad, the kid. Mark Richt told me multiple times. I said, don't you get tired of recruiting? He said, really, it's just love. You got to tell the kid, I love you, more than the guy that follows you in the house. Yes, this was completely cringeworthy. We sat and laughed as we watched it. But every rock musician stands on that stage as they travel around the country and grab that microphone, that rock musician says, nobody rocks like Omaha, except everybody. And comedians change their act. Oh, they do, when they go from talking to college campuses to the corporate gig. Suddenly you don't pick on the big and the powerful. You're being paid by them. Go to a party. Want to be popular? Ask people about themselves. Really, I'd love to see more pictures of your kids. Fascinating. Really, keep going. Your vacation last year. I couldn't talk about it more. You want to make people feel important? Yes, it was pandering. Yes, it was completely, utterly cringeworthy. And Brian's probably embarrassed. But you know who's not, maybe? A lot of those LSU fans. Because they want to feel important. And that's important. Not saying what he did is right. I'm saying you just don't know how the game is played. That accent is happening from Northern coaches going to recruit Southern parents every day of the year. Every day of the year. You just don't see it on the internet. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.